Good morning, good noon, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to Dole Promise webinar. I am Emma Valeros Cruz, Director of Human Resources for Dole Asia Fresh. This webinar is a cascade to all AFL attendees who wish to understand the Dole Promise for a brighter world. Presenting the Dole Promise will be Christian Vigale, President of Dole Asia Fresh, Dole Asia Holdings Pte. Limited. Christian has a strong belief in business as a force for good, a concept that has influenced him over his entire career. As President of Dole Asia Fresh, he oversees those operations for fresh produce from farm to market in a company that grows, harvests, and delivers the goodness of the earth. And we have Rupen Desai, Global Chief Marketing Officer of Dole Asia Holdings Pte. Limited. As Global CMO, he believes that everyone should have equal access to nutrition and wellness, delivered in a positive and sustainable way. He's a strong advocate of the responsibilities for a purposeful business for the society, communities, shareholder, and the planet. Cara Fung, Marketing Manager from Dole's Marketing Center of Excellence, will moderate after the presentation. On to you, Christian and Rupen.
Thank you, Emma. Good day to everyone, wherever you are currently based. First of all, thank you very much for taking your time in a challenging business environment to spend time with Dole and to spend time with us to talk about what we're doing differently moving forward. So again, my name is Christian. Some of you might be familiar with myself. I had the pleasure of being live at the Fruit Logistica in Hong Kong over the last couple of years. These are unprecedented times. We are using and leverage technology to see each other, get to know each other, and to talk about our business. Myself, I've been with Dole for the last 5 years, and since beginning of September, I moved into the role of heading up the Asia Fresh business from farm to market, and excited to share with you, together with Emma, Rupen and Cara, over the next 30 minutes, what we're doing moving forward. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of Dole. I hope you're familiar with our products. I've got our 3 products here in front of me: pineapples, bananas, and pataiwais. I hope you are familiar with our history, but hopefully we'll get excited of what we're doing differently moving forward, knowing that times are changing and that we need to find the right interaction between providing value for people, for the planet, and also prosperity of our customers. Yeah, so we're going to structure our discussion around a little bit of history, and then what is our purpose and our promises moving forward as Dole. So moving away just about talking about our fruit, moving away of just talking about supply chain and how we can sell more volume, but more really the role which Dole takes in the society, and the purpose and the promise which we have issued beginning of July, and which guides us over the next many years to come. And we're excited that your business partners are interested in listening to it, and hopefully also excited at the same way as we are. Personally, the promise is very much at the heart of myself. As Emma said early on, I strongly believe in business as a force of good. So business as a force of good is not just about selling more, but really providing value to the society in which we live in. So we have prepared a couple of charts, and if we can go to the next chart, we can see that hopefully you are familiar with Dole, hopefully familiar with Dole Asia Holdings, which is sort of the legal entity which embraces our activities. Dole is an established company which has been there for more than 170 years, originating in Hawaii, but it's gone through transformation. So Dole Asia was acquired 70 years ago by Itochu, which is one of the largest Japanese trading houses, and has strong values around doing good for society as well. Our business is around $2.5 billion large. And from a fresh perspective, so this really fresh products which we source and then sell in the Asian markets. We are present in around 12 countries, mainly in Asia. You're probably familiar with our market presence in Japan, in China, Korea, but also markets such as Hong Kong, Malaysia, New Zealand, and Middle East. Yeah, so that's a bit of background. Very much centered around our farming operations. So there's a strong DNA that we acknowledge that we are centered around where we grow our products. Myself, as a background picture, you can see our pineapple farms in the Philippines. Yeah, and our core products are bananas and pineapples. However, we're expanding moving forward, and Rupen will talk about why this is important, why it is important to expand beyond our two core products, and also why it is important embracing the more than 13,000 employees which we have mainly in Asia, who are doing a tremendous job on a day in, day out basis to provide the goodness of the earth. Yeah. On the next page, again, we articulate a little bit of the history. Kara, if you can go to the next page. Maybe we have some technical difficulties, at least on my chart, my screen. We are still looking at the headline of 170 years of Dole. But whilst Kara is going to the next page, you will see that, before that, please, that we have been always championing the well-being of the society, looking at generation and working with our communities and giving back to the nature. But we acknowledge that we need to do things differently. The world is changing. Yeah. Expectations are changing. Who would have thought a year ago that we would be doing this workshop on a virtual basis? Who would have thought a year ago that supply chain disruptions would have been an issue? Who would have thought a year ago that there is an understanding that more and more people live in food deserts, so don't have access to nutrition, versus a lot of people have too much access to nutrition. So against this background, we sat together as a team over the last 12 months and said, so why do we really exist? What is the purpose of Dole? And we came up on the next page with a headline which we call Sunshine for All. Yeah, so that's really the purpose of Dole. So hopefully, if we meet again virtually in a year from now, you will have seen more and more activities which embrace this sunshine for all, very much embedded with the aspect for all. We strongly believe that we need to champion an equitable world, a world where everyone, irrespective of their age, income, location, or gender, has the right to nutrition from the goodness of the earth, and that we reduce the gaps one action at a time. So it's really about providing the goodness of the earth to everyone around the world and ensuring that we diminish the inequalities which exist and therefore provide sunshine for all from the goodness of the earth. Yeah? And therefore democratizing nutrition through a healthier diet for 1 billion people in a very responsible way. But again, if you want to take the key takeaway for Dole, our purpose is really this sunshine for all people who are touched by the products, all people who we touch in our communities, and all our business partners which we work together. So there's some exciting campaigns coming up in the next month, but also over the next six months. So hopefully, again, in a year from now, you will see that we have moved forward and really envisioned and put this into action, this sunshine for all. So just moving away from just providing nutritious food, but also providing this sunshine for all on a day in, day out basis. Yeah. So having said that, you could say, well, is this really true to Dole? And the answer is yes. Yeah, I mean, we have been working for more than 170 years, but we believe that based on our strong historical background, there is this opportunity now to open this new chapter and talk about this renewed purpose, which builds on our history, both from Dole itself coming out of Hawaii many years ago, but also with Itochu as our shareholder. So we strongly believe that that we have got the right DNA. And if you go to the next page, there are some other historical backgrounds which articulate this. We've been doing a lot already over the last many years in the aspects of education, in the aspects of partnership, in the aspects of communities, and also is the aspect of Sampo Yoshi. Sampo Yoshi, I'll pass this over to Rupen, who is going to talk about what does this mean, this Sampo Yoshi, and how does this really relate to the heritage of Dole and to our new battling cry about sunshine for all. So back to you, Rupen.
Thank you, Christian. And as Christian mentioned, look, we've been bringing the goodness of Earth for 170 years to people. However, in that 170 years, the access to nutrition has become quite lopsided. And therefore, when we talk about sunshine for all, it goes against the context of the world we live in, where sometimes you can get a burger, a Happy Meal for a couple of bucks, but it costs you $14 to have a healthy salad. And as a company, we're making a big statement saying good nutrition should be like sunshine. Everybody needs to have a right over it. Everybody should have equal access to it. Everybody, irrespective of where you grow up, where you live, what your economic reality is. And this isn't something new for us. You see, in a 170-year-old history of Itochu, our parent company, there is a wonderful belief called Sampo Yoshi. And Sampo Yoshi, 170 years, was one of the founding principles for Itochu. It's one of these fantastic things where if you Google Itochu, you find Sampo Yoshi and the belief on the first page of your search engine. And alternatively, if you search for Sampo Yoshi, you find Itochu. And this is the magical space that has been in our DNA for 170 years. So if Christian and I sound like we're inventing something new, we're not. And at the most simplistic form, Sampo Yoshi says, business is best when it performs three things together. It literally means a three-way satisfaction. Business is best when it's good for the buyer, good for the seller, and good for society. So when we launched our new purpose, when we went back into the annals of history, when we rediscovered Sampo Yoshi, we realized that the first thing that needs to change is our own self. We cannot go out to the world and start advocating, start becoming activists around why sunshine, why good nutrition should be accessible to all, unless we are ready to first force change upon ourselves as a company, unless we are ready to use the principles of Sampo Yoshi, put them and contextualize them to the world. And therefore, if you help me move to the next slide, the purpose is why we do everything we do. We want to bring sunshine to the world, not just to the world, to everybody in the world, to the haves and the have-nots, the equals and the unequals. And if you go and learn a bit more, as we have, the world is becoming increasingly unequal. Whether dependent on the gender you have, the economic reality you're born in, and as the world becomes more unequal, it is therefore our promise, it is our purpose that we champion a world day by day, which slightly brings back the inequality that we live in. Our promises are the actions by which we live our purpose. And they start first and foremost with ourselves and then to the external world. So a couple of months ago, in the midst of the pandemic, we made 6 large promises to the world. And if you help me move to the next slide, the difference is these aren't sustainability promises. These aren't CSR promises. These aren't the little vertical that a lot of companies have, the little tab which are slightly disassociated from business. What we are trying to do is find a responsible way where we believe the best way of Sampo Yoshi is when people, planet, and prosperity all thrive together, are all interdependent upon each other, and not at the cost of each other. Today, there are lots of companies where share price comes at the cost of a planet, share price comes at the cost of community, or on the other end, there are lots of companies, purpose-driven companies, where doing right for communities eventually leads to a decrease in share price, or a decrease in stakeholder value, or a decrease in shareholder value. And we believe that the best manifestation of Sampo Yoshi is when all three P's, people, planet, and prosperity, thrive together with each other in an interdependent way rather than the cost of each other. And if you help me move to the next slide, Kara, these are the 6 promises we made a couple of months ago. Currently, we said we will increase the access of nutrition that we offer as a company to at least 1 billion people by 2025. What I can tell you right now is we are 30%, 35% on the journey today. We also realize that we cannot advocate for a world where sunshine is accessible to everyone, the goodness of earth is accessible to everyone, if any of our products has processed sugar. Now, while the fresh part of our business will not, even our packet side of the business cannot, because it is one brand with one purpose, and therefore we have promised to the world that we'll move to zero processed sugar by 2025. The third promise deals with a very simple fact of the world we live today, and that is the inequality between food and feed. We cannot accept a world where 1/3 of the food we grow today is just wasted by the haves, while almost an equal number of the have-nots go hungry to bed tonight. We cannot accept a world where there are similar statistics of both obesity and starvation. And therefore, as part of our recommitment to ourselves and our business, we have moved to a zero fruit loss pledge, where not a single fruit, not a single part of the fruit, not a single goodness of the fruit that we may be wasting today, whether it may be in the farm, whether it may be on the journey to our customers. And we therefore see a world where fruit isn't thrown because it looks ugly, it looks wonky. We need to therefore reaffirm to the world that banana spots don't make it ugly. It's actually the most nutritional part of a banana. And we realize that there is a long way to go, because today when I look at my own children at home, they go, oh, this apple looks a bit wonky, it's not nice, or it doesn't look waxed enough. They don't use the word waxed, but that's the kind of world we've created. And therefore, 1/3 of the world's fruit and 1/3 of the world's fruit is being wasted. The fourth promise we made was saying goodbye to plastic. We made this promise knowing we do not even have all the answers. And therefore, while we were discussing that within our leadership team, we prioritize progress over perfection. We prioritize and have made a big bet that out there in the world, there will be, whether you're a startup, whether you're a person with an idea, whether you're a large company, whether you're already an existing supplier, a vendor, you along with us will find answers to plastic that will end our use of plastic and fossil-based plastic by 2025. The big difference we've made is in the sixth promise, which is we are going out there to the world that we intend to do all the other 5 promises, including the climate promise and carbon neutrality, while we create increased shared value for all stakeholders along our value chain. We believe in today's day and age, our priority And our ability to make change to communities and to the planet comes with a responsibility of creating shared value. And we neither want to shy away from it, neither do we want to separate our profit away from our purpose. We believe that this is the liberation we need to do, where we create shared value across the entire chain, whether it is be for our farmers, whether it is for the communities, whether it is the people that work at Dole and our shareholder, because that is the time when people, planet, and prosperity will all work together, interdependent, rather than at the cost of each other. And as we did this, in the midst of the pandemic, we launched a film which I will use to wind down our presentation and open it for any questions that you may have. So as the end to our promises, this is the film we introduced to the world. Could we please play the film now, Kara?
Dear leaders of the world, I've watched the world change a lot over the past few months. The skies are bluer. We're eating healthier. Even the animals seem happier. So, why isn't it like this all the time? Why do we need to cut down so many trees without planting new ones? The oxygen helps clean up smoky factories. Why do we keep using plastic? We're poisoning the water and the fish we eat. Why do we add more sugar to food that's already sweet? All it does is make us unhealthy. And why don't we do more for hungry children? All the food we waste could help feed them. It's really simple. When we treat the planet better, everyone and everything gets better. And if you, the leaders of the world, can't get it right, then it's time for me to step up and do something about it. Sincerely, Sophia.
Thank you, Rupen. If we can just go back to the promises 2 pages before and before we go to Q&A. So in summary, I hope that you hear about our journey and our purpose of Sunshine for all the business partners who are on this call, whether you're technology providers, whether you're suppliers, whether you're customers. Hopefully you can identify where you can help us on this journey and on these promises. These were audacious promises. Do we have all the answers how to get to zero fossil-based plastic by 2025? No. Are we working hard? Yes. Do we need partners to help on that? Yes. Do we need partners to provide more access to nutrition, diversified products? Yes. Yeah. So hopefully the audience on this call, you can identify yourself on one of these buckets or all buckets, yeah, and then continue or start working with us towards Sunshine for All. Back to you, Kara, for Q&A. Yeah.
Thank you, Ruben and Christian. We have about 6 minutes for questions. I would like to encourage you guys to put your questions in the chat box and I will direct them to one of our 2 speakers.
Whilst we wait for questions, let me start by asking a question of ourselves as a anecdotal on why do this in the middle of a pandemic. You know, when we launched it, there was a lot of press, and sorry, I'm going to answer you, Tram, as well. So if you go to a site called sunshineforall.com, you will have all the information of our promises. If you Google the Dole Promise, There are at least about 400 to 500 different articles written around the Dole Promises. And if none of them actually give you the information you seek, please seek out Christian, Emma, any one of us on the Dole thing, on the Dole family, and we'll be able to give you more information. Tram. And whilst we wait for other questions, I mean, I'm going to tell you a story about when senior leaders were sitting together discussing whether it is a good time in the middle of the pandemic to go and make audacious promises or not. And I think Christian bought for us articles that the pandemic is actually making the inequality even worse. So whilst before the pandemic, 1 out of every 6 children in the world go hungry, that number has actually become drastic because of the pandemic, which is 1 out of 4 children. So instead of 33% of the children, 16% of the children, which is 1 out of every 6, we had actually gone up to 25%. And as a company, as a leadership team, we decided if we don't stand up in the pandemic for solving inequality, we will look back upon this as a time and realize this was the most optimal time to be launching such promises.
So Rupert and Christian, sorry, we have a question from Maylene who wants to know what advice do you have for companies who are thinking on embarking on this purpose too?
Okay, so let me take, Rupen, why don't you take that one? I take the next one, which is more about the business part. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So Mylene, purpose as a driving force for company, there is enough numerical data that purpose-driven companies outperform those without a purpose. The big trap to avoid, in our humble opinion, is that purpose is not a marketing brief, it is not an advertising brief, it is not a CSR brief, it is actually a business model. And our hope is by combining promises around the 3 Ps, we're actually integrating it as a business model. So Sunshine for All isn't a new tagline, it isn't a new CSR activity. For us, it is a guide on how we innovate in the future. What kind of products do we sell in the future? How do we restructure our organization in the future? It is a rallying cry against what is important for us. How do we make our choices? So my only advice I would have for companies is use it as a business model. If you use it as just an advertising brief or a marketing team's brief or a CSR brief, it is the first thing that gets cut when quarters are tough.
Let me just take the last question, which did the pandemic affect the Dole promises and how will Dole be addressing them? I think the simple answer is that the pandemic actually accelerated the promises. We realized the need for nutrition. We realized the need for frontline workers. We realized the need that we need to do more for communities. Yeah, we realized the need for all of these promises which we're giving there. So actually, it accelerated and made the cause even more important than what we thought when we started the journey beginning of end of last year and actually published it during the pandemic. Yeah. So I'm conscious of our time. I think, Emma, we have until 3:30, so the last second. So again, everyone, thank you very much for participating. Please stay safe, yeah, and hopefully embrace our journey towards Sunshine for All. Hopefully you recognize yourself in some of these promises. Please reach out to us. And what is the correct website, Rupen, just to give the last advertisement?
Sunshineforall.com.
Sunshineforall.com. And otherwise, please reach out through other social media. We're happy to hear from you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sunshine for all.
Thank you. Sunshine for all. Thank you. Bye-bye.